Well, hey there, and welcome to Unmistakably You. I'm Amy. I'm a wedding planner from London, Ontario, and I pop in every night. Nope, every Wednesday night, live here on Facebook to talk to you about wedding issues that you might be facing in your planning. I'm a little early tonight because, to be 100% honest, I'm not feeling awesome. So I'm going to chat with you for a little bit and then I'm going to probably hit the hay. So tonight, we are here to talk about choosing your wedding party. If you've been following us through the last couple of months, we've been doing a booking tips series that is aimed at helping those of you who are newly engaged to navigate the wedding planning. So if you've missed any of those, you can find them in the archives here on Facebook, or you can certainly pop over to our YouTube channel and see them there as well. We've talked about how to select an officiant and how to choose your florals and decor and how to book a venue and all of the things that you're going to be dealing with if you're early in your wedding planning. Now, one of those things is how to choose your wedding party. And a Ralph Wiggum quote comes to mind here. I choose you. And it can be really exciting to choose those people who are going to stand up with you on your special day. So I just want to shine a light really quickly on a few things to consider, a few things that maybe are common misconceptions or traditions that really don't need to be followed anymore, and some things to just kind of think about before you approach those special people who are going to be part of not only your special day, but also your planning process. Because keep in mind that whether you're planning for a year or 6 months or 2 years, your wedding party will be with you for much of it. And there are certain responsibilities that traditionally fall to the wedding party that you will either have amazing help with if you have amazing people standing up with you, or you'll have little to no help or maybe some frustration with if your wedding party isn't working out the way that you anticipated. So I just wanted to highlight a couple of those things. And first and foremost, as I often say with basically any element of your wedding planning, there are no rules. So there's no reason, first of all, to have a symmetrical wedding party. You and your partner do not need to have the same number of people on each side. It doesn't even need to be close. There's no reason for that unless you are super duper type A and you want symmetry in your photos. But to be honest, any wedding photographer worth their salt will be more than able to capture beautiful and artistic photos of your wedding party, no matter the distribution, no matter how many are on each side. You don't have to have your siblings. There are family dynamics, absolutely. I don't mean to discount those, and I know that they play into a lot of decisions often, but there's no rule that says you have to have your sister or you have to have your cousin. Even if your cousin asked you to stand up in their wedding party, you don't necessarily need to reciprocate. You don't have to even have your best friend. We're going to chat a little bit in a few minutes about other ways that you can incorporate special people into your day without necessarily having to invite them into your wedding party. If you are a heterosexual couple, you don't have to have bridesmaids and groomsmen. We're seeing more and more mixing of the sides of the party, which I think is awesome. And it's much more representative of people and the chosen friends that they choose to spend their time with. We're seeing an awful lot of bridesmen and groomsmaids, best ladies, or man of honor. It doesn't have to be even bridesmaid, groomsman titled at all. You can just call them your wedding team. So there's really no necessity to tick any boxes when it comes to who you have on which side. And I mean, we can talk about wedding attire at a different time, but there's no concern about having all of the people on one side of the party matchy-matchy and all of the people on the other side matchy-matchy. So you don't need to worry about any of that stuff. In fact, you don't even have to have anyone stand up with you. You could just have you and your partner up there at the front. All you need are two legal witnesses, and they could be anyone who is of age, who is a member of your guests. You could ask your friends to just get up and sign and then sit back down. You could have your parents do that. You can have anyone do that. And for that matter, I've seen lots of wedding parties who incorporate their parents or their grandparents or their, aunts and uncles who are special to them. So there's also no rule about the age of your wedding party. It doesn't have to be people of your own age by any stretch. Um, there's just really, it's fair game. What you want goes. I know that there may be some pressures from other facets of your life, but the hope is that you and your partner can just kind of talk about the dynamic that you want and the people that are important to you, and then incorporate as many or as few of them as you like. Hopefully, that means that you're able to choose people that you like, that you trust, that you're comfortable with, that you have an ongoing relationship with. So don't feel pressured into inviting someone into your party just because your parents want you to, or because, like I said, you were included in their wedding party. Hopefully you can have some honest conversations to navigate those situations and just clarify what it is that you and your partner want instead of what it is that everybody else wants. Because to be honest with you, if there's a tension that exists already, it's not going to get better by inviting that person to be part of your wedding planning and then having them with you for the year or more potentially that you're planning the wedding. And then if your wedding party don't all already know each other, it's definitely sort of advisable, if possible, to plan a social event, whether it's pre-wedding in person or pre-wedding via Zoom or virtually. Hopefully some of those tensions that might exist between members of your wedding party, just even by virtue of the fact that they don't know each other, will be alleviated if you have a couple of wedding party socials beforehand, if your wedding party don't already know each other. Now, the third thing to talk about is that realistically, and this is just brass tacks, it's just facts, the more people you include, the more expensive it is. The more personal flowers, bouquets, and boutonnieres you may end up purchasing. There will be more people at the rehearsal dinner, and traditionally it's kind of a matter of etiquette that you would invite not only your wedding party but also their significant others or spouses to your rehearsal dinner. So if you have large wedding parties, then you're dramatically increasing the cost of your rehearsal dinner. You will also traditionally purchase a gift to say thank you to all members of your wedding party for being involved. And so the more wedding party members, the more gifts to buy. If you are contributing to any of the hair and makeup costs or suit rental costs or any of that kind of thing, obviously the more people that you have, the more those prices skyrocket as well. So just something that's logistical to think about when it comes down to what your budget is realistically. Fourth thing I wanted to talk about is little people. The reality is that young kids are cute no matter what they do, but oftentimes what they do can't be predicted. It is usually, involving running or screaming or sometimes tantrums. I have bribed kids with cheese to get them down the aisle. I have had flower girls and ring bearers just refuse. I've had them go screaming down the aisle, running for mommy. So there is absolutely no requirement that you have a flower girl or a ring bearer. Now, if you do have children of your own or friends or family who are really close and it feels like a natural ask, then by all means include them, just with the understanding that they're going to do what they're going to do if they're particularly young, and you just kind of have to be okay with that. Your guests will be understanding. But you also don't have to have kids in those roles. There's been a tradition, or not a tradition, but a trend lately of having grandma as a flower girl, which is super cute. I actually did a wedding a couple of months ago where there was an adult flower girl and she just totally bought into it. And she had this full face, like mask kind of situation. I mean, it was cut out in the center, but it was flower petals around her face. And she walked down she skipped down the aisle wearing it. So it was super cute. Grown up flower girl, just someone who wasn't part of the actual bridesmaids per se, but was still included in the wedding. And you can literally give your rings to anybody, preferably somebody who maybe has pockets and isn't also juggling a bouquet. But you could even have parents hang on to them. That's something that would be a special way to include the parents as well if you don't have a formal ring bearer per se. Now, there are definitely ways to include special people without actually having them part of your wedding party or your wedding team. You could have them do readings at the ceremony. I had a couple a number of years ago who kind of borrowed from the Jewish tradition of the seven blessings, and they had seven of their friends stand up and give just a very short little excerpt during the ceremony, which was a really special way to include them. You can showcase talents of your friends. Maybe they have musical talents and would provide music for the ceremony or perhaps for the reception. Maybe they can write poetry. Maybe they have design or decor talents that they can lend to you for the actual theme and execution of your wedding decor. Maybe they can design your stationery, and of course then you want to give them a shout out in thanks at your speech time. You could ask special friends to be MCs, co-MCs. You could create a head table, but not actually have those people stand up at the wedding with you and not have to then invest in matchy attire. Not on my game tonight. I don't speak English. My apologies. So it's less of an investment for them, but still a way to acknowledge that they're special people to you. You could have them, as I mentioned, hold the rings, or you could have them even manage a ring warming ceremony. There are lots of ways to do that. You could even have friends perform your actual ceremony. I'm doing a wedding in a few weeks where the wedding team is going to be the ones who are saying the words, and the couple are actually going to elope earlier in the day. You could have special friends give speeches either at the actual reception or at the rehearsal dinner if you don't have space for all of them at the reception. You could even have special dances with them at the reception. So there are lots and lots of ways to acknowledge those special people without necessarily having 17 bridesmaids and groomsmen. Realistically, there are no rules. So if you want 17 bridesmaids and groomsmen, you go right to town. And if you want to mix them up on each side, go to town. If you want to have them all mismatched, there are no rules. You can do whatever it is that you want to do. I think my main goal is to just kind of emphasize that you want those people to be so special to you that you are envisioning them still being in your lives in 10, 15, 20 years. Don't put someone in your party just to placate someone else. Don't say, I'll just deal with it, even though you know it's going to create tension, because realistically, these people are following you along your planning journey and hopefully assisting with some of those things, like those pre-wedding parties. If you're having those kinds of bachelor, bachelorette, stag and doe, buck and doe, that kind of thing, you want good people on your team to help you plan those. And if those things aren't important, and if you think it's going to be easier to just get married without all the foo-fara of a wedding party, you can certainly do that as well. So as always, I am here if you have questions. Please send me an email, amy@unmistakably.you.com, or shoot me a message, or just plug in a comment on this video. I will be back with you next Wednesday at 8 o'clock, which is my normal time. But for now, I'm heading to bed. So happy planning, have a great night, and I will catch you next week. Take care.